Hello and good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from Aniyusabata Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, 100 life imprisonment and 2 acquitted and discharged in connection with the murder of former owner of the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel in the Upper West region, popularly known as Jirapa, Dubai. We speak to the prosecution on this matter. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. Also, the New Patriotic Party flag bearer hopefuls kickstart intensive campaigns ahead of the January 31, 2025 contest. We'll hear exactly what some have been telling the delegates. Stay with us on Ghana Tonight. Also, the National Service Authority has extended the registration period for prospective National Service personnel. We'll hear from the National Service Authority why this has become necessary, because today was actually the deadline for the registration. So it comes as some good news for prospective service personnel, but then again, what has necessitated this extension would have some detail on the. Stay with us. We have this and more, including a developing story about a shooting incident in the Ashanti region that has led to the death of some person. We'll give you an update on that shortly here on Ghana Tonight. You're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
The High Court in Wa has sentenced Elisha Mahama, the principal suspect in the murder trial of Eric Johnson, to life imprisonment. The jury returned a unanimous verdict, finding the then Human Resource Manager of Jirapa, Dubai guilty of murder. Speaking to journalists, Principal State Attorney, lawyer Said Abdul Shakir expressed relief.
Appeals court is also our playground, just like the Supreme Court. Wherever they want to go, we are sure this is an impeccable decision that cannot be impugned at any level. His blood-stained footprints are in the man's room. His fingerprints are in the man's room. What are they doing there? And he said that for 40 days he had not entered the place. And these were fresh in the cool of the back. His footprints and his fingerprints. Only clear one, pure Johnson. And the jury has returned a guilty verdict. And I think that is fair and just.
NPP flag bearer hopeful Brian Achampong says restoring discipline within the party will be a top priority if he becomes leader. The Abetifi MP and former Agric Minister insist that only strong leadership and the consistent enforcement of party rules can restore order and respect for authority within the NPP.
It purely has to do with leadership. If you have a strong leader who has control over the system and the setup and then the establishment, discipline will be restored. And when you cross the line and people know that there will be clear sanctions, okay, then they know how to play within the zone. You can be sure that when I have the opportunity to be the flag bearer of this party, we will enforce the rules on our books, that if you cross the line, there will be sanctions.
The minority in parliament wants government to halt plans to sell AT and migrate its customers onto the Telecel network, a move they fear could crash the sector. Ranking member on the Information and Communications Committee, Matthew Nyindam, says the president must order the sector minister to present the transaction to parliament for scrutiny.
The president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to direct his Minister for Communication to focus on making AT work rather than hastily trying to dispose it of. We are also sending a strong and unequivocal caution to Telecel Group that any attempt to acquire a strategic state asset through unlawful, non-transparent, or irregular means will not only lack legitimacy, but will also attract severe consequences in the future.
The Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies is projecting an upward price adjustment for fuel in the second pricing window of this month beginning October 16, 2025. The projected increases will affect all major petroleum products. Price of petrol is expected to go up from 2.04% to 4.15%, and that of diesel from 2.04% to 4.10%, while LPG price is expected to increase from 2.49% to 4.46%. From foreign bond players looking to switch allegiance and represent the Black Stars at the tournament, in an exclusive interview with 3 Sports, Otuado emphasized the importance of commitment, unity and national pride when considering new additions to the squad.
We have been approaching you all the way and you said no, but now that as we are at the World Cup, you want to come. And I think Ghana should always have a certain pride also as a country. I think also that we need to go on each player and to check the commitment, which is very, very crucial because we have a very good unity and I definitely don't want to destroy this with bringing players in who don't have the commitment. So commitment has to be first.
As more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Also streaming live on YouTube on 3 News as well on YouTube. So many ways you can connect with us here on Ghana Tonight. But coming up next on Ghana Tonight, 100 life imprisonment and 2 acquitted and discharged in connection with the murder of former owner of the Royal Cozy Hotel, that's Royal Cozy Hills Hotel in the Upper West region, popularly known as Jirapa, Dubai. We speak to the prosecution on this particular issue. And this is an incident that happened sometime in 2024, last year, February 2024. The High Court in Wa has sentenced Elisha Mahama, the principal suspect in the murder trial of Eric Johnson, to life imprisonment. Now, the jury returned a unanimous verdict, finding the then human resource manager of the Jirapa Dubai Hotel guilty of murder. Now, speaking to journalists, Principal State Attorney, lawyer Saeed Abdul Shakur expressed relief on this particular development after more than a year. Today's judgment brings an end to the case. But we want to find out if this is an end to the case of those who have been, actually, that's the individual who has been sentenced to life imprisonment. So stay with me closely because we're going to run through a timeline of this particular incident, an unfortunate incident that happened sometime last year, the murder of this man, the late Eric Johnson, owner of Jirapa Dubai. This incident, he was found murdered in cold blood in his hotel room, one of the rooms in this particular hotel at his resort on the 11th of February 2024. Days after several suspects, mostly hotel staff, were arrested. The former HR officer, that's Elisha Mahama, who was identified then as the prime suspect, had been dismissed shortly before the incident. So take note of how things played out. this gentleman who was now being sentenced to life imprisonment, days before this incident, the murder of the Eric Johnson, the late, had been dismissed as the HR manager for this hotel. Between February and March, more suspects, at least 7, that my producer Dennis Barber counted, were remanded as investigations continued. June 2024, trial was adjourned while the Chief Justice, the then Chief Justice, Getu Daraba Sabatukono, considered moving the case to Kumasi, sparking some backlash because the people in the area were of the view that, look, to the extent that this is a man that they revere, his influence, his impact and contribution to the development of that area because of investment in putting up that hotel and creating jobs for the people, he was loved and revered, so they were interested. This was not a case just for the state, even because in murder cases, the state would take up the case. The people also felt a certain sense of ownership. And that's why they resisted the whole idea of it being moved to Kumasi. Indeed, it was rescinded, and the people's concerns and their views were taken into consideration. Fast forward, this case has traveled a path up until now that this verdict and sentencing has taken place with Elisha Mahama, the former HR manager who was dismissed just days before this incident, being sentenced to life imprisonment and found guilty of the murder of Eric Johnson, the owner of Jirapa Dubai. 2 other persons who were standing trial with him have been acquitted and discharged. That is what happened in court earlier today. The principal state attorney who led this case and prosecuted this case for and on behalf of the state, private legal practitioner Saeed Abdul Shakil, he's a lawyer, is joining us right now on Zoom, and then also the principal state attorney who led this case is connected with us right now. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Hello? If you can unmute for me, please. That will be good, so that we get a clear understanding of how the prosecution is taking this particular development, and especially because this gentleman, this Mahama, who has been charged now, and he's been found guilty of this particular incident, this crime, even though he's been sentenced to. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Lawyer Saeed Abdul Shakura is the principal state attorney who led this particular case for and on behalf of the state. Thank you for joining us. I mean, there certainly must be a victory for the prosecution, is it not?
Definitely it is. And we are so happy that it went the way it went. We are so grateful to everybody that was part of it, especially to you, TV3, who kept us on our toes, and all the other people that made sure that we went through what we went through. I'm so grateful.
And taking into consideration how this particular case, the path that it has traveled, right from when this incident happened in February, and the need that the people had to, as it were, have this case tried on the soil of where this happened, even when the then Chief Justice was of the view that this case be moved. They had direct and personal interest in this particular case. I mean, looking at how things have played out till now, certainly raises fundamental questions about the interest that this case really brought and the outcome as we have seen, especially because of the gentleman who's been found guilty of this crime.
Let me say that Mr. Eric Johnson, the owner of Royal Cozy Hotel, otherwise known as Jirapa Dubai, is one of those persons you can say is the single most important investor in Upper West region. So when we woke up on the 11th and realized that this man has been murdered in cold blood in his room, stabbed with multiple wounds, everybody in Upper West was like, were agitated. Everybody were all agitated. But the police moved into high gear. I think that we must commend the police. They did a thorough, a very, very good job, and everybody should commend the police for what they did. A high team of investigation moved straight from Accra to Jirapa. The scene was preserved by the local police people, but when they moved in, they took charge. They took fingerprints, took footprints, and took other evidences from the place. And then they gathered there were 10 people they arrested, and 10 of them were all taken through the mill. And eventually, they found that Mr. Elisha Mahama, the former HR, because he was dismissed a day after he committed the offense, had his footprints and fingerprints in the bedroom and in the crime scene. So he was picked up. Eventually, he was picked up in Takoradi and brought to Wa for the trial. Like you accurately narrated, before the trial, he had petitioned the Chief Justice through his counsel to have the case moved from Wa to Kumasi because he feared that he might not get justice. But we resisted it, and thankfully, we resisted through the Attorney General then, Godfrey Dami, who moved in and ensured that the case was brought back to Wa for the trial to commence. And we counter-petitioned and said that the incident happened in Jirapa. Jirapa is a district in Wa. All the witnesses, 7 out of the 9 witnesses we called, were all in Wa, so it was only appropriate that we have the trial in Wa. Eventually, the Chief Justice rescinded the original decision to transfer the case, and we proceeded with the case. We called about 9 witnesses, and we brought in fingerprint experts, cybersecurity experts. All of them led evidence that were cogent, that were accurate, and that was beyond reasonable doubt, that eventually led to Elisha Mahama's conviction. So in actual fact, the trial took place, it took over a period of about a year and a half. We moved the court to have the trial done daily, and the court agreed with us. So we're doing the trial daily until something happened. Then necessitated about 3 months adjournment because counsel for Elisha was taken ill. And therefore, we had to oblige them adjournment for 3 months. We couldn't go to court. We didn't proceed 3 months. We only came back after 3 months. The people were agitated. A lot of things were said about us. A lot of things were said about prosecution. But we were just calm because we knew what we were doing. We had our evidence intact. We had everything intact. And we put it before the court. We had 2 other persons. One was his girlfriend, who was also a front desk officer, and another was a gate man. When we refer to him as a security, I refer to him as a gate man because his sole duty at Jirapa Dubai was to open and close the gate when the owner, Eric Johnson, was moving out. So we held him because we thought that if we're a security man or if we're a gate man, you should know who is exiting and who is entering. But the fact that he knew everything up to the point of when the person who killed Eric Johnson was exiting, at that point he went blank. Then the girlfriend, who initially said she didn't have a call with the accused person, later the call records reflected that she and the accused person were in the same vicinity at the time that he called him. We realized that the accused person was in the premises of the hotel at the time that he called the girlfriend and the time that the murder took place. That's why we also held him. But the court found that there was not enough nexus to connect the girlfriend and the gate man, so they were acquitted and discharged, but found that there was sufficient evidence to convict the suspect, Elisha Mahama. So that's what took place in court. He was convicted of murder and sentenced to life
in fact,
in prison.
I was just asking that question about if he was dismissed, Elisha Mahama was dismissed a day before he committed this murder.
Elisha Mahama, the accusation with Elisha Mahama had a lot of, he was on a dating spree with the hotel staff.
He was on a dating spree?
with the hotel staff.
You mean he was?
What
do you mean? Is he was dating the hotel staff, female staff?
Every girl in the hotel girl had something to do with Elisha Mahama.
Every
At least
girl.
we have a record. We have a record of 2 girls that were in the hotel that were all sleeping with Elisha Mahama, but at their blind side. The one of the girls that was dating her was our first witness. She was the one who said that when Elisha Mahama came to sleep in her place, had sex with her, he didn't have any cut. But when he returned, he had a deep cut in his right hand, which the doctors interpreted as a defensive wound, and was so apprehensive and anxious to leave Jirapa in the dead of the night after 2 a.m. That made her to testify that she didn't see Elijah with a wound, and then later Elijah had a deep cut in his right finger. When he was confronted with deep cut, he said, even though he's red-handed, he said that whenever he's cutting vegetables, he uses, because of hygiene, he handles the knife with the left hand. So that's why the cut was on the right hand. But it was so obvious that it was not the case. It was a defensive wound. Eric Johnson fought back, inflicted wound on him before Eric Johnson eventually subdued with multiple injuries. So the girl was dismissed alongside, one of his girlfriends was dismissed alongside Elisha Mahama, and that's PW, that's the prosecution witness number 1. That's Loretta Asare. She was helpful to the prosecution because when it was disclosed to her that this was the situation, she then told the court that when Elisha came to him, he said he was leaving the following day, but when Elijah left him around 8 and returned at 12, and the murder took place between 10, 11, and 12, and he returned after 12 and said that, and went to bath again after he had bathed that night. So the testimony actually helped the court. So he had 2 girlfriends were admitted that were working in the hotel. One was still there, they didn't know about her, but one was dismissed alongside Elisha Mahama, and that became our first witness.
I see. It's a very, very troubling detail as we are hearing right now. But then again, any idea of how he got into the house after being dismissed?
Yes.
Did that come up? Did that come up at any point during the trial?
It came up at all times material. That is why we held the girlfriend, because the house wasn't broken into. A ladder was placed at the other fence, and the electric fence was cut. So he climbed over the wall, used a master key to enter the room. Who gave him the master key still remained an unanswered question, because we thought that, and we urged the view that it was the girlfriend he called at the time he was in the premises that handed over the master key to him. But the court refused. The juror said no, it didn't connect, so he was acquitted and discharged. It was our view that it was the girlfriend that gave him the master key. So the unresolved question is that who gave him the master key? Because he entered the room with a master key, opened the doors, and then committed the heinous crime.
And that also, the answer to that question would have also then given further indication of exactly how this was carried out, is it not? So with this answer not being given, does it take anything away from this, the outcome of this?
It doesn't, because, you see, because it's science. We told the court 2 things. There's circumstantial evidence and there's scientific evidence. The scientific evidence was in respect of the fingerprints, the footprints, and the location of the phone calls. That is not an opinion. These were established facts. But the circumstances were said that we put the man and Elisha Mahama in the place. So the science tells us, apart from this connection, Elisha Mahama at all times material was in the room of the accused person at the time he was murdered. His footprints, his fingerprints are in the room. And that was our strongest point.
I see. But so how did the family take this this outcome today? And were they in court when this judgment was delivered?
The court was packed to rafters. The family were in court. The family were happy that Elisha Mahama is eventually facing justice. But they were dissatisfied with the fact that 2 of the persons were acquitted because they still think that there are questions that people have to answer. But that is what we have to accept. But overall, the family is happy that this thing went the way it went. Initially, when the case was delayed, the RAF was on the prosecution. The Attorney General Department or Office of Attorney General was the one that was receiving the flag for the delay of the case. Unbeknown to the general public, and we didn't tell anybody because health was an issue. We thought that once counsel was not well, we didn't have to rush issues. We had to wait for him to return to the case. So that was the case. That's why I kept it for a year and a half or more. But we are saying that ultimately, we all know, and it's a cliche, that the wheels of justice grind slowly.
Indeed.
But they grind exceedingly fine.
And now, listening to you, it's quite clear that you are dissatisfied with the acquittal and discharge of these 2. That's the girlfriend of this Elisha Mahama, and then the gate man. So, are you going to appeal the acquittal and the discharge of these 2?
I wouldn't say I'm dissatisfied. I think that from the beginning, when we took the case, we look at where our strength was and where our weaknesses were. The team of lawyers, we look at it. It was not about me. I had Miriam Amwako, who I assigned the case to. I was only supervising. We agreed that our case against the second and third accused persons were tenors. We're not that strong, but we had to push our luck. But the case against the first accused person, Elisha Mahama, was rock solid. So we are not that disappointed. We think that, yes, it was 50-50. If it went either way, we will still be content with it. But our solid case was against Elisha Mahama, and we got conviction from it.
You would have definitely hoped for a better outcome. But to the extent that this very critical question of how Elisha got access to the room of the deceased remains unanswered.
No answer.
There's no answer to it. It's still a bother to us.
There's no answer to it. It's still a bother to us. But the person who carried on the heinous crime is Elisha Mahama. His fingerprints, his footprints were all in the room, blood-stained footprints. And you know, as well as me, that footprints and fingerprints are unique to the individual, and that no 2 fingerprints or footprints are the same. And the experts told us so. And so we are satisfied that the person who actually carried the heinous offense has been convicted. However, the people who aided the commission of the offense, we are not, the juries, we cannot say who it is. So that is still an unanswered question.
And I do thank you very much for this, and thank you so much for spending some time with us, and then also doing this for the family and the people in the region who heavily also dependent on this man, the deceased Eric Johnson, and the investment in that area. Lawyer Saeed Abdul Shaku is a principal state attorney who led this case together with a team on behalf of the state in this murder case of Eric Johnson, the owner of Jirapa Dubai. Elisha Mahama has been charged. In fact, he has been sentenced to life imprisonment, and the other 2, that's the girlfriend and that's the security man, he has also, the 2 of them have been discharged, acquitted and discharged, and that's what the state attorney, the principal state attorney, is raising concerns about, that question that remains unanswered as to how Elisha Mahama got access to the room of the late Eric Johnson. There is no answer to that question as we speak. But this is one that we'll keep an eye on, whether or not there's going to be further query for this answer that the state will take up But this is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, another very unfortunate incident, this time in the Ashanti region. 6, including a toddler, sustained injuries from a stray bullet in a shooting incident in Obuasi. We have more for you on this particular incident. Now, the police in Obuasi is currently investigating a shooting incident which has left 6 people hospitalized, including a toddler in the Obuasi East District of the Ashanti region. Now, the shooter is currently on the run. That's what we do know right now. According to reports, a wild jubilation of a court ruling over a chieftaincy issue triggered what some eyewitnesses described as a freaky shooting. Now, the 6 believed to have been hit by a stray bullet. Kofi Cole, a relative of one of the jubilant families, is alleged to have fired this gunshot. Now, some of the victims spoke to the media after this incident. Take a look.
And the 2 minutes said, near Quaco air time, our Nimu. Tindy and said, Praga Biba. No bit me ukret you. To me, imagine if you so. Mere time I'm a tea and a pool. To me, I'm yes, me, John, and Sassy. A pie, a moja, Miss Savvy, and Yabenejino. A pie moja, the Eba, and you say, Plagana air quantity to add atu. Baba quoting a 2 tune. And as near your doors in the war, blab a kind of tiquasi. And will be snorting came a car, Nimuma say, and I gave him soon in the back. Almost tunica come my remote in our hospital. A kind of night again, the banner night. Sunday to me pa Emia.
So this is one that we're keeping an eye on. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. We'll bring you a bit more, some detail in our subsequent bulletins, and then also get some reactions, especially on what is going to take place with the investigations. William Evansinkom is our Northern Bureau Chief. He's keeping tabs on this particular development, and we'll be giving you some more updates in our subsequent bulletins. But coming up next here on Ghana Tonight, we go straight into matters of politics, and this time we're looking closely to the NPP, that is the flag bearer hopefuls, how they are lacing their boots. They've already kickstart intensive campaigning ahead of the January 31, 2025 contest. We'll hear exactly what some of them have been telling us. This is less than about 100 days away from now. We'll just get to see how things are playing out. But the campaign is in full swing for the NPP flag bearer hopefuls. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia earlier today launched his campaign in Sene West. Kennedy Japan was on campaign tour in the Savannah region, and Dr. Brian Champong was also on a campaign tour, this time in the Greater Accra region. And both, they've been talking. First, let's hear from Brian Champong, who indicates that he is not troubled by the polls that put him in the 6th position, that's the 5th or the 4th position out of the 5. He says that there are some others who, in his view, haven't even stepped out of their bedrooms, and some of the polls are putting them ahead of him, and so he doesn't put so much premium on these polls. Take a look.
Put up polls that put myself ahead of others. I'm sure that I can have some friendly posters and do same for me. They do not concern me. Most of these polls are psychological operations on the system, totally meaningless. I don't intend to sponsor polls in my favor. I'm sure that shouldn't be any doubt that if I wanted to, I could. I think that the polls are on the ground. So you go on the grounds to the actual delegates in the constituencies, and you get the answers. I'm here in this campaign office. Many people come with their polls, and you are winning, you are 90%, you are 70%. Give us money so that we can put it in the papers, put it on online portals. I'm not interested in any of that. I mean, I've seen some polls that puts me at 1%, and some aspirants who are not even going, who have not left their bedrooms at 20%. And it's quite interesting, some of these polls. So please, I'm not concerned about that at all. The day of the election, January 31st, we will all see what the real polls look like.
Well, we'll hear from him about another matter of the people, as to whether he is in touch with the delegates, and then also his view about the national executive, the current national executive of the NPP. But this is what also Kennedy Japan as well said. He is of the view that he disagrees with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's decision to have conceded ahead of that Electoral Commission's official declaration of who won the 2024 election. He says that a concession, in his view, he would have taken a different decision, and that he would have rather waited for the Electoral Commission to declare before conceding. This is Kennedy Japan's view. Take a look.
Until you better the last constituency, say me a presidential candidate, I will never accept defeat. I will never accept defeat until the electoral commissioner comes out to declare. I will not. I will never accept defeat. Ekuna ye kono ehia bema a wo mu beta yachi enye sa wo de ye boy ya na mu dimirika ni mo adwane no makosi segu no enye sa na ye election in Africa to vote for a bold man ebiem last one me go translate obi ba wo say.
That's Kennedy Japan. Now, let's take a look at what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia also said earlier today during the launch of the campaign. This is in Sine West. And he describes the energy that he felt in the Sine East. I beg your pardon, Sine East, exactly what the party needs to build upon. His focus is on the future, on the policies that will transform Ghana, and on the collective work required to secure victory for the NPP in 2028. That work starts today with the delegates and the party folks who gathered in Sine East and the backbone of the party. That's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia earlier today during the launch of his campaign. And Dr. Osai Kwapong, John Osai Kwapong, is a governance and democracy expert and also a fellow Democracy and Development with the Center for Democratic Development, CDD. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Dr. Osai Kwapong, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening to you as well, and thank you for having me.
I must start with the congratulations on your book, the book launch yesterday on John Mahama. Quite an interesting read. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Now, taking a listen to what, let's start off from what Kennedy Japan said about the early concession. Although not specifically and explicitly mentioning Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's name, he's of the view that, look, if he was a flag bearer, he is not going to concede defeat, any early defeat, until the Electoral Commission declares who the winner is. That's in sharp contrast to what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did in 2024, because he's of the view that, look, that doesn't show strength. It must show some strength and mettle and holding on until the Electoral Commission declares. Is that a path that you would say Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia maybe took that did not resonate with the party focus we are seeing now?
So thank you once again for having me. If I recall, there were some dissenting voices back in 2024 who disagreed with Dr. Bawumia on that early concession. In their view, he should have waited, given it a bit more time, even wait till the EC had declared a winner officially for him to come out. He did say that it was his decision and it was his alone ultimately to make.
when I think back to that speech, if you put it in within context, one of the things that Dr. Bawumia said, or let me point out to two quick things. One, he said, look, our own internal data and the analysis of the data shows that we have lost this election. But more importantly, he also said he was quite concerned about the rising tension and the possibility of electoral violence, even though signs were clear that, as he said, he had lost the election. So, in his mind, let me put country first. What can I do to reduce the tensions? And in his mind and in his well-intentioned address, he said, if I concede early, then it would bring down that tension and eschew any kind of or foment any kind of electoral violence that we may see. So for me, if you put it within that context, I would argue that it was a very statesman-like thing to do. To think country first, to put country first and say, given what I am seeing, the best thing to do, because I know I have already lost, is to come out early and concede this election.
I see. But then you hear Kenneth Japan talk about strong men. And he references that just before he makes that statement about the concession, early concession, and then afterwards as well. I mean, within that context, would you say that it was an exhibition of strength on the part of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to have done this? Or in the view of Kennedy Japan, to the extent that he will not do that, that's an exhibition of weakness?
Oh, so I don't think it's an exhibition of weakness for Dr. Bawumia to have done that. Again, I would reiterate the point that it was a statesman-like thing to do, given the context and the well-articulated reasons he gave, especially around the tensions, the security issues, the post-electoral violence that he was concerned about. Given the same circumstances, I am hoping that another candidate, where the signs are clear that they are losing the election, would walk the same path. It's a different, and these days our political parties have built their own quote-unquote ECs in terms of they've become very adept at collating results and getting a good sense of where the election is headed long before even the EC comes in. It will be a different case if, based on their own internal numbers, they are seeing an extremely close race where all the votes are yet to be counted, and then a candidate decides that, let me go out and concede the election. I can see why you would be concerned that, can you hold off a minute, all the votes are not in, the official votes are not in from the EC. But these days, our political parties, hours before the EC is able to finish its official collation, have a good sense of where the election is going. In 2016, I think by 2 a.m. after the election, the MPP knew that they had won that election. In 2024, by midnight, the NDC knew that they had won the election unofficial. So, of course, they will have to wait for that official declaration. But I respectfully disagree with the Honorable Kennedy Japan, and I don't think that what Dr. Bawumia did should be seen as a sign of weakness.
I see, but then again, also, you think about it. I'm going to play another submission by Brian Achampong, who is also of the view that the party needs a certain image of a strong leader, right? So you see that sinking in. It's a chorus that the others are singing, or some other flag bearer hopefuls are singing about how strong a person is, and that's the kind of character, in their view, the MPP needs in opposition as they struggle to put their acts together and then also galvanize the base of the party to wrestle power from the NDC in 2028. So that's the messaging about the strong leader and some of the attributes that, in the view of, for instance, Kenneth Japan, a strong leader should not do in conceding elections early. Doc.
I would measure strong leadership differently. So if you're looking for a strong leader, then definitely you want someone with clarity of thought, clarity of mind, someone who knows where he wants to take the country, someone who knows how to get us to, the next level of our development, and someone who is able to build a team and be able to hold a team accountable for the good things they do, but also for the bad things that they do. Somebody who wouldn't make him or herself as a leader too vulnerable to being, quote unquote, controlled by special interests, things like that. Those are, for me, the signs of strong leadership. I will therefore find it very troubling that in the entire political trajectory of Dr. Bawumia, ever since he bounced on the political scene as former President Akufo-Addo's running mate in 2008, that we would somehow define his strength in that one moment in 2024 when he concedes an election early, primarily because he thought of his country first, was worried about post-electoral violence, was worried about rising tensions, and therefore did a statement-like thing for his country. I mean, think about the 2016 election. Dr. Bawumia was the face and voice of the NPP's campaign, particularly around making the case against the management of the economy of the NDC government. Yes, granted, his own government ran into their own challenges. But if you want to single out, a face and a voice that defined the case of why the John Mahama administration needed to go based on the economics, it was Dr. Bawumia leading the charge. And he showed conviction, he showed strength whilst doing that. So I won't define his strength just based on that one single moment in 2024. If there are other things that, he has failed to show strength in, that will be fair. But I think to just use that one, to look at it through that lens and talk about strength in leadership would be too limiting a way to pick a strong leader to lead the party.
Dr. Jonathan Akwapong, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much for joining us on Ghana Tonight.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. He's a Democracy and Development Fellow at the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD. Dennis Miracles Abuaji speaks for the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign team. This is what he posted on social media. A presidential candidate who refuses to concede defeat in the face of obvious loss at a time when there are multiple incidents of violence across the country is a coward and a danger to our democracy. Courageous leaders act in time to save our peace. Who the cup fits. I mean, obviously, this is with no name and no direct recipient. But I mean, look, you don't need to be a soothsayer to see and reading between the lines. However you understand it, he says, take it. But we're just receiving information from the Ghana Grid Company Limited, 161 kilovolts, Abuaze Takwa transmission line has been damaged and repair works are ongoing. Those are the videos we got from the Minister of Energy and Green Transition. They're informing the public that the Ghana Grid Company's 161 kilovolts Abuaze Takwa transmission line has been damaged. The maintenance team has been swiftly deployed and is currently at the location working diligently to repair the lines as quickly as possible. The analysis also highlights the possibility of power supply disruption in parts of the Western and Ashanti regions within this short period, precisely Kumasi and Takwa. So that's information saying they're putting all the efforts together to repair the damage and normalize the situation as soon as possible. So we'll keep an eye on this. After this quick break, we'll tell you why the National Service Authority has extended the period for registration. The Deputy Director General is going to be joining us after this quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. The National Service Authority has extended the deadline for the online registration for the 2025-2026 National Service year. Initially set to close today, October 15, the registration window will now remain open until the 24th of October to give prospective service personnel additional time to complete the process. Now, let's go on to Zoom right now and get a bit more detail. Donko Fuseni is Deputy Director General, Finance and Administration at the National Service Authority, is joining us right now. Fuseni, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening, Alfred. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. Now, what is stated this extension of the deadline, which was to be end of day today, for the registration for this national service by the prospective personnel?
Once again, good evening to your cherished listeners and viewers. As you clearly stated, the extension came about through a management meeting, an emergency management meeting, and then in consultation with the board. We realized that out of the 139,000 prospective personnel that are supposed to be on our system and would have gone successfully through the registration system, out of that number, about 74,000 have been able to log on onto the system to start the process. But out of that 74,000, only 69,300 have been able to go through successfully, representing just about 50% of the total student population that are supposed to undertake their national service this year. So the Director General, in consultation with the board, pleaded with the board that they should allow management to at least extend, though we are heavily late on our calendar for the deployment exercise. We decided to actually open it up a little bit, give more time to most of our prospective applicants, because now some of them are having a lot of challenges, as we were discussing the other time.
Yeah.
Most of them have issues with their date of birth, the date of birth on Ghana card not tallying with the date of birth from the schools. Some of them have their names wrongly spelled. Some of them have omissions in their names. So the schools will have to rectify all those corrections. And then the individual applicants who have differences in the names on the Ghana card and then the names on the school uploaded list have to now go and swear affidavit to be able to take it to Ghana card to do the necessary corrections.
So
the authority was able to bring NIA and then Ghana Publishing and Commissioners of Oath to our headquarters.
Right.
Just to shorten the process and fast track the process for them. But then out of the numbers that are ready, only 50% as at now have been able to go through successfully. So it is only fair, according to our Director General, it's only fair that we open it, we give at least a week more extension so that they can quickly do the correction, the necessary corrections. And some of the schools who also have issues with uploading the student data, this is the window of opportunity for them to do the necessary corrections and also be able to upload the class list for us to continue with the service year.
And it's important that you give this detail, because then we know what has necessitated the extension, right? All of this that you saw, it's that to mean that measures have been put in place to address all these challenges, so that within this period, this window you have given, the challenges that led to people, 50% not being able to register before today, they will be able to do so within this window you've given?
Yes, so as I speak to you now, like I said, some of the major universities had issues with uploading the class lists, because some submitted their class lists. So this particular window of opportunity will give them time to upload the class list, because if your school doesn't submit your class list, it means you have to go into our system as a private national service personnel.
Right.
And that is what we don't want to happen. And then, as I speak to you as well, about 9,000 out of the 50% have opted for the military training. And
see.
it will also interest you to know that over 9,000 of our graduates are now saying they are interested in our agriculture programs and projects and want to be posted to our farms, which is a good news for especially we at the National Service for the youth taking active interest in our agriculture programs. So we just wanted to give them a week more grace period so that all those necessary corrections can be done and we can move forward. But then postings will start. Deployment will start. Those who have gone through, we will not wait until others have uploaded before we start the posting. As for the deployment, we are starting the deployment this particular week.
And the service period is going to be 12 months, regardless of the fact that you are starting late.
Exactly. And within that 12 months, your 6 weeks military training for the pilot stage is also involved.
All right, thank you. Dr. Hosseini, thank you for this detail. He's the Deputy Director General, Finance Administration at the National Service Authority. So that's the good news there. The deadline has been extended. It's no more today, by close of day today. You have more time, prospective service personnel who are watching us right now. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join us same time tomorrow for another conversation. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint.